right. So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Matt. I'm a Yoga for Change instructor. I appreciate you having me on and inviting me into wherever you are at, getting ready to practice yoga. I have a volunteer that's going to demo for me so that I can show form. We are practicing yoga, and this is I mostly teach a lot of guys, athletes, all types of sizes of men and women, but the reality of a lot of our anatomy is that men's and women's anatomy is different. So we're going to teach based on functional movement, yoga, functional movement poses. Nothing's going to be too challenging. I guess the idea here is that if you feel pain, sharpshooting pain, do not push yourself back out of it. But if you feel like maybe some pulling and muscle tension and things, focus on your breath and breathe through it. We will see if we can work on stretching you out and getting some corrective postures. So today we're going to start lying on the back with the feet together. The bottoms of the feet touch and the legs fall out to the side. We're going to go ahead and lay down on the back. We're just going to close the eyes for a few moments and start breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Allowing the body to settle into the ground, letting gravity kind of have its way. Just start focusing on the breath, focusing on the way the inhale feels coming through the nose, and how the exhale leaves the breath, the body. What does that feel like? Notice how your body feels on the floor. Start to allow yourself to become focused on your mat, focused on the room that you're in. Letting the day fall away, letting everything that happened earlier today and last week go away. Everything that's going to happen later tonight falls to the side. It's not important right now. That is your imagination at this point. You are on your mat and you are participating in a yoga practice. Inviting you to bring your arms up over your head to give you length, grabbing opposite elbows, starting to lengthen the spine. Yoga is a Sanskrit word for union. The union they're talking about is the mind and the body and the spirit. The conduit for these things is the spine. It is the organ in the body that delivers the electromagnetic pulses from all over the body to the brain and back. So we definitely want to work on keeping that elongated and lengthened and healthy, active, fluid. And we use the breath to calm the body so this is achieved. Continue to breathe into the nose and out through the mouth, trying to work on continuously focusing on a rhythm that you create with the breath. Bringing the right hand to the belly and the left hand to the heart. Pay attention to the way the body feels as it rises and falls. And as we breathe and hold this pose, the body starts to acclimate and sync up to the room, into the situation. It takes a few minutes and a few breaths to get in touch with the central nervous system. It's the idea that it starts to let the body relax so that we can start to straighten and lengthen. Bring the knees together, bringing them up. And once they touch, slowly heel toe, walk your feet away from each other, allowing the feet to be out towards the edge of the mat, maybe hips width apart, maybe a little bit further. Let the knees fall in like a pyramid. Continue to breathe. Make feel this in the IT band, you may feel this in your hips, you may not feel this at all. But return to the breath. And let the body settle onto the floor. As we breathe, we also get in touch with the autonomic nervous system, which is the digestive tract, blood flow, the heart rate. All of these things start to become unified in the yoga practice. The inhales to 3 seconds in and 3 seconds out, or 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out, depending on your lung capacity. Continuing to create a rhythm. Really releasing all of the air out of the body and inhaling deep. Full inhales, expanding the whole entire chest cavity, the whole entire belly cavity. And exhaling and blowing and emptying it all the way out. Very slowly, we're going to bring the knees up into the air, and you're going to bring the hands to the knees. Maybe lifting the tailbone up off of the ground just a little bit, setting the tailbone back down on the ground, taking the curvature out of the spine. We're going to take the knees and pull them apart away from each other, pull them up towards the shoulders. Push them back together, and then down away from the shoulders. So we start to make small circles with the knees. It's like a wax on, wax off pattern. So gently we're starting to get into the hip flexors and the hip joints. The hip joint is a 360-degree rotation capacity. We start to get in touch with the abductors, knee adductors, all of the little muscles that stabilize hips and the legs and the lower portion of the body, just continuously breathing really slow, moving really slow, paying attention to the way the legs feel as they make this 360-degree pattern. Moving in the opposite direction slowly. Continuing to breathe. Bringing the knees back together. We're going to take the feet, set them down back on the mat. The knees are facing the ceiling. Heel toe your feet just maybe a little bit more than more outside of the hips. We're going to take the hands flat down onto the mat. Embracing the body and pushing the shoulders into the ground. We're going to start to rock and roll. Windshield wiper the knees to the right. And then slowly to the left. Work on keeping the spine as best you can attached to the floor. Really starting to get into the head. Use your hands to stabilize you. And really start to see how far you can get the hips over to the right or to the left, and start to pay attention to the mobility, the hips and the hip flexors. Just breathing. And then taking the knees all the way over to the right. Pick the right heel up and set it on top of the left knee, and just pause for a moment and breathe. Let gravity do its thing. You might start a little bit of feel a separation in the left side hip flexor and the left side hip joint. Just let it open. The muscles pull. Let gravity do what it does. Continuously breathing. Continuously trying to stay in the moment. Dropping the right foot back down to the mat. Slowly start the windshield wiper process back to the left and back to the right. Just very slowly moving. And then back pushed into the floor. And then bring the knees all the way over to the left. Setting the left foot up onto the right knee. Start to disconnect, start to disengage. Let the stomach relax. Sometimes our monkey mind comes up and we start to think about things that aren't really current. They're not in this room. We're thinking about the dinner that we're going to eat later tonight, or the sports game that we're going to watch later this afternoon, or what's going to happen when we get home with the kids, or whatever. Something that's not happened yet. That means that we are in imagination land. this room. So we focus on our breath to bring us back to this place. Slowly drop the left foot back to the floor and send the knees to the right. And to the left, just windshield wipering them slowly, getting the hips back to a neutral place. We're going to bring the knees straight back up. Feet are still on the ground. We're going to bring the knees up together and bring them into the chest and reach around the shins. So you're going to give yourself a hug. You're pulling the shoulders off the floor, pulling the knees towards your cheeks. Really squeezing in, and once you get into this ball, start to rock side to side. So we're pushing around on the back muscles. This is helping with not only massaging some of these long back muscles out, different erector muscles, different things that help us stabilize. We're pushing on the kidneys and the liver, things that are protected by a rib cage, some of the organs. It helps with the detox, making sure that you drink water after your yoga practice. And then releasing the spine back to the floor, shoulders are back to the floor. And so both of our hands are still on our knees. We're going to take both hands to the right knee. We're going to release the left leg and we're going to send it towards, away from our shoulders. So the left foot is actually onto the ground, the back of the left leg. And you're going to start to extend out through the left hip. Push through that left heel towards the opposite side of the room, pulling the right knee into the rib cage. You're going to start to feel some separation and some movement in the hips. Breathe. Continuously sending that hip outside of that joint and lengthening through the leg. So you're breathing. This is a really good stretch for the center part of the body and the abs. Bring both knees back up into the hands. Slowly rock side to side. Kind of casual, not doing anything here, just loosening up the hips. And we're going to bring the knees back into the hands. Grab both hands to the left knee and send the right foot out. So the right foot is flush onto the ground. We're going to start to extend out through the right hip, pushing out through the right heel. Pull the left knee into the rib cage. Breathe. Starting to release that and bringing the knees back to the hands, rock side to side. So now that we're starting to loosen up the hips, we're going to start to focus more on lengthening the spine and some of the other areas. Long spine is always the key here. We're trying to work back. If you can get the spine right, the leg muscles start to loosen, everything else kind of falls into place. We're going to bring the hands behind the legs. We're going to grab the quads or right behind the knees. We're going to start to rock and roll up and down the spine this time. So we're coming up and down. You probably did this when you were a kid maybe. It's kind of like a rocking chair motion. You're just going up and down the spine. Finding balance. At some point, we're going to come all the way up. Just let the feet fall out in front of us. So we're not really reaching or grabbing for anything. They're just kind of loose. Definitely with the knees bent. And so what we're going to do is we're going to elevate the shoulders a little bit. Open the chest and broaden the chest. And we're going to take our hands, palms face up, and slide them underneath the calves. So they're going to be right around the feet or the ankles area. And we're just going to fold forward. So you're just going to let the head hang. Breathing slowly. Now, your hips might still be a little bit tight. Hopefully they're a little bit more loose. Your back will lengthen over time. I promise it will get longer. This will become easier, but you let gravity do its thing. We're not pulling again. You're just letting the mouth maybe feel like it's falling away from the teeth. Face is completely relaxed. And you're breathing. One day your feet may fold all the way towards your face. Your face ends up in the middle of your feet. slowly flipping the palms, and use your hands to start to walk you up to a stable position. So when we're sitting now, we're going to bring the feet into a cross-legged seated position. This is called easy pose. Now, this isn't always that easy because sometimes our hips don't want to work, but hopefully your hips are feeling a little bit more loose than they did when we sat down or when we started. So we're going to start to take the hands to the knees, yeah? And wherever you're at, we're going to use the hands to brace and kind of keep us upright. You're going to start to open up the chest a little bit, so you're pulling the shoulders back and down just a little bit. Start to close your eyes and breathe and focus on the spine. Focus on lengthening and straightening the spine. So maybe as you breathe in through the nose, if you're closing your eyes, maybe you can visualize the air pulling in through the lungs and swirling around the spinal column, creating space in between every single little vertebrae. Your head might feel like it starts to float towards the ceiling a little bit, and you just become lighter. We stretch from the inside out of the body with the breath. You use your breath as a tool to expand from the inside out. So we're going to take our right hand over to our left knee, and our left hand, left thumb, comes right behind the spine. So the left thumb butts right up to the tailbone, straightening the left arm, straightening the right arm, making sure your shoulders are square. Slowly we're going to twist to the left. And you're twisting at the thoracic spine, so you're twisting around the belly area and the rib cage. Now through each inhale, maybe you exhale and twist a little bit more, looking over that left shoulder, really focusing on posture. Start to feel some of the muscles around the ribs in the back. You want to fight, maybe they're tight. See if you can focus on the inhales, lengthening and stretching those muscles. And exhaling back. Slowly we're going to release, come back. Grab the hands to the knees. Pull your shoulders back. Inhale, exhale a couple of times. And let the spine and the crown of the head start to rise back towards the ceiling. Still just creating posture. So we're going to bring the left hand to the right knee. The right hand comes behind the spine. So your right thumb is right up to the tailbone. Straightening both arms. Squaring the shoulders. Slowly twist to the right. Maybe you start to look a little bit over the right hand shoulder, but really working on keeping the posture, spine lengthened towards the ceiling, but posture more than anything. We want these shoulders squared. We get in habits of driving and things and eating and doing all these things with our phones that we start to lean in always with our shoulders, and we're not opening our chest enough. Slowly coming back to center and opening up the chest again. Arms to the knees, hands to the knees, and breathe. So we're going to bring our hands outside of the hips, yeah? So we're pointing and straightening the arms. The fingertips come out, touch the ground. I guess what they call them, Spider-Man fingers. So you got Spider-Man fingers, right? So it's just lengthening the limbs, right? We're going to bring the right arm straight up into the air, so reach through. Good posture, again, reaching long and extending out of the rib cage. And we're going to bend at the elbow, and you're going to bring the fingertips out to the left side of the skull. And slowly we're going to pull the right ear to the right shoulder. And you're going to start to feel a stretch in the left side shoulder and the left side neck. Just breathe here. Be gentle with the neck. As you start to hold this pose for a moment, if you want a little bit more, you can start to drop the left palm towards the ground, reaching that palm towards the floor. You're going to feel the extra stretch, maybe in your shoulders, maybe all the way down into the triceps. Continue to breathe. And then very gently, we're going to release the right fingertips off of the neck and let the head come up naturally. Fingertips return to the floor, and we're going to start to roll the head very softly, 360-degree rolls to the right, being very gentle and just breathing with the neck. Opposite direction. coming back to a neutral spine. So we're going to go fingertips long, left arm straight up into the air like you're reaching. Reach long through the rib cage. Yeah, elevating strong. And then we're going to bend at the left elbow. Fingertips are on the right side of the skull. Pull the left ear into the right shoulder, into the left shoulder. Being very gentle and breathing. Maybe you start to relax the shoulders a little bit and enjoy that stretch. And if you want more, start to pull the right shoulder, the right palm down towards the floor, extending that right hand down to the ground. You're going to feel this extra in the shoulders and the neck. Maybe down into the biceps, and you might even go further than that, down into the forearms. Breathe. And then very gently releasing the left fingertips. The left arm comes back to the ground. Let the head come up naturally. Drop the chin to the chest and roll the left ear left and start to make big circles with the neck. You might feel some crackle and pops. The tendons start to loosen up a little bit. The neck gets loose. Roll in the opposite direction. Yeah. So from here, we're going to bring the neck back up into a neutral pose. We're going to move into a child's pose. So child's pose, you're going to roll over the knees. And in traditional child's pose, the toes touch at the back of the mat. And the knees are going to come out to maybe shoulder width, maybe mat width, maybe further than that. But what we want to do, and we're trying to do an attempt here, walk the arms out in front of you. And we want to get long in the spine. So maybe you set the forearms down on the mat, and maybe as you start to allow, we want the body, the torso to fall in between the knees, in between the thighs. And you want to walk the fingertips out even more. Just probably like a little cat does, where it just kind of claws and paws its way. You can start to really extend through the arms, and the hips start to settle with gravity. So we want like a flat spine. We want the spine as long as possible. Yeah. And the fingertips spread wide. We get a little bit more into some of the tendons and the ligaments, and the arms up into the shoulders, and really start that release. So we want this long spine, always with the spine lengthening and breathing. Focusing on the inhales and focusing on the exhales. So we're changing positions from the hips to the upper body. We started really working on opening the hips and the legs a little bit earlier. We're starting to get into that spine. We're going to walk the hands off the left side of the mat. So keeping the knees where they're at. Maybe your both hands are just off the mat to the left, and set your right ear on the mat. If you want more, you can walk the right fingertips out just a little bit more. You can feel this all the way down into the right side hip and the right side rib cage, your right side lats. This is a really good stretch. If you're open there and you want more, you can bring the right hand on top of the left. But wherever your body feels the best stretch, try and get there and then relax. See if you can let gravity in the body just pull the body back down into the way that it wants to go. Don't fight it. Relax into it and breathe. Very gently engage the mat with the hands. Walk back to center. Picking the torso up, making sure that you're back to center, and then off the left side of the mat. So the left hand is maybe just off of the mat, just a little bit. And really start to reach out. Set the left ear on the mat. See if you can stretch out a little bit further with the left fingertips. Again, feeling this all through the rib cage, all through the lats, all through the arm. Maybe down into the left side hip. If you want more, you can bring your left hand on top of the right. Once you get to where you feel like your body is stretched and engaged, see if you can just completely let go and let gravity pull the body where it wants to go. Let the body adjust to itself. Breathe. I was listening to a podcast one day. This guy was talking about the wood fibers in the grain and what makes wood so strong, and he talked about it's not the grain itself, it's not the wood fibers itself, it's also the space in between the wood fibers. So we use our breath to get all up into that space so that we can be strong. Walk your hands back to the center of the mat. Set the forehead on the mat. Set it back down. Disengage and breathe. Our strength doesn't just come from our muscle tissue, it comes from the space in between. We have the ability to breathe into that space with the lungs. We breathe in and breathe out, expand from the inside and expand from the out. Very slowly, we're going to engage the mat and come up into a tabletop. Yeah. So, tabletop, we want our knees to be underneath the hips in a 90-degree angle. So we want this 90 here with the body 90 down, 90 back, and then the shoulders are going to be straight. The hands are straight down underneath the shoulders. With the fingertips spread, we take some of the pressure off of the wrists. So all of this weight gets distributed out into the fingers a little bit, and we can stabilize ourselves. We don't spend so much energy with the fingertips spread wide. So we're going to slowly start to, after you see what we're doing, we're going to start to spin the hips out to the right a little bit and then bringing them back. So we're making these movements, this rocking pattern on our knees and our wrists, and we're going in circular motion, yeah? But then we're going to start to take the hips and push them out to the left and then pushing them out to the right. Just kind of closing your eyes and looking down at the mat where nobody else is kind of looking at you. You're just getting into the low back area, back into those hips, but you're also getting into some of the synovial fluid that surrounds our spine. It's like this fluid that can get hard, kind of like Crisco is in a can, and then once it's added to heat, it turns into liquid, and we have this synovial fluid in our spine. This gets into the piriformis muscle, this gets into all of the glutes, to the hip muscles. Feels really good as a nice stretch. For those of us that sit a lot and then moving in the opposite direction. Sometimes I feel little cricks and cracks and pops and things while I'm doing this exercise. And as long as there's not any sharp shooting pain, all I know is that like my body is just readjusting sometimes from maybe some poor posture from sitting around too long during the day or driving funky. You know, a lot of us drive a lot, we sit a lot, and we don't get this opportunity to address some of these muscles that we are attempting to get to in this posture, in this movement. And then returning back to center. We're going to bring the knees together this time. So you're walking your knees together and walking the heels together. And we're going to address all 10 toes, the backs of all of the 10 toes on the ground. So it's like you're almost sitting up on these toes. And that's exactly actually what we're doing. We're sitting up on the heels. So your toes are engaged. And we're going to open up the bottoms of the feet. Now this is very difficult for a lot of people because we do not address the feet. But this will actually add structure to the knees. Help get into the hips in a little while, releasing some of the tension. So if you don't like this and this feels painful and you have a tendency to want to lean forward, I'm going to help you lean back a little bit. We're going to take our arms and lock the fingers behind the spine, straighten the arms and start to pull down towards the floor, looking up towards the ceiling. Open the chest and breathe. Use your breath to get through the central nervous system, and your feet will start to slide forward. Keep you here very long, so we're going to release and come down, back onto the hands, onto the mat, and tap the toes out on the mat. And voila, your feet did not break. Even though they might feel like it sometimes. A lot of people complain about this, but it's healthy, I promise. So now we're going to point the toes towards the back of the room, shins are flat on the ground, and now we're going to sit back on the heels. So you're just going to, again, this could be difficult on your knees. I'm hoping that it's not. If it is, kind of back out of it a little bit. But hopefully you can sit up on the heels and kind of just maybe take your hands and put them in your lap. Just maybe look down at your hands for a little bit. Maybe you close your eyes and you just focus back on the breath. Let the shin muscles start to open up a little bit. balance, finding your breath. This is the essence of yoga, trying to be still, trying to meditate. If we were to sit here for an hour and breathe, we would have done yoga. Yoga is a misconception a lot of times for what we see on social media and other people doing, and yoga is really about the breath and the spine, uniting. Anybody can do it. Coming forward slowly, hands back to the mat. Slowly walk the knees, hips width apart. And we're going to swirl the ankles around and point the toes and just kind of move the knees. Just really get into the feet, kind of waking them back up. Yeah. So we're going to take the wrists, yeah? Fingertips are spread wide. And making sure that the hands are straight underneath the shoulders. We're going to take the right hand and spin the fingers outside clockwise, 180 degrees. Set the palm back on the floor and straighten the right arm. Yeah, so you want those knees. So we want a line, an invisible line that comes from wrist to wrist. You want to line those wrists up. So you want to bring your right wrist back a little bit. Yeah. Or maybe your left wrist forward. So you want this like equal line, yeah. And then we're just kind of going to slowly pause and pump forwards and backwards. If the arms are straight, you're going to start to feel all of the tendons in the wrists and the ligaments in the hand and all of these things start to really, really open up. So breathe. This gives attention to the wrist structure, the elbows, shoulders. The reason that this might feel uncomfortable is because we do a lot of activities with our hands, specifically if you're right-handed or left-handed. There's not very many people that are ambidextrous, so if your right hand feels tight like this, move side to side really slowly. It's maybe because you use your hand to use a stick shift, or writing with a pen and paper, or eating or something like that. You use that hand a lot more. So you're just breathing and then maybe making a couple small circles, keeping that palm engaged into the floor. Yeah. And then bringing the right hand up and shake it out. So open and close the fist. Yeah, make it move. Maybe a motorcycle grip, and just make circles with the wrist, like you're stirring cookie dough or something. I don't know. Shake it out and place the right hand back onto the mat. Making sure that you're stable under your shoulders. Take that left hand counterclockwise, 190 degrees. Your fingers point towards the left knee. Straightening both arms, making sure that the wrists are lined up. Yeah. And then we're going to start to pulse forwards and backwards. You might notice that this side is different than the other, and if it is, it's probably because whether this is tighter or looser, you're using one hand more than the other. And that's okay. In yoga, we find out what we need to work on. We find out imbalances, inconsistencies, and it all happens basically how we behave throughout the day. Sometimes we sit in like business meetings or conference rooms or something with one leg kicked up and we don't kick the other one up ever, so our hips get tight. Or we only eat or open doors with our right hand and not our left, moving in small circles, side to side, whatever you feel like you need to do. And then coming up off that left hand, shake it out. Yeah, open and close. Moving in circles. Okay, so now we're going to get into starting to come up off of the floor a little bit. We're going to start to move through sun salutation, and we're going to start to stretch and lengthen the body a little bit. First thing is we're going to tap the toes into the mat. So I want to take a teaching opportunity real quick to help you with the flow. So when I'm here, if my knees are parallel with my body and my hands are parallel, if I tap my toes into the ground, that's my space. I just shoot my legs straight back, shoot the ankle straight back, and then I can come straight back down into a plank pose. I see often a lot of people get into these poses and they're walking around the mat trying to find where they're at, but you can simply find where you're at over a couple of times with practice by just kind of finding your body, and then you're not having to move too much, finding the spacing on the ground. Yeah. So we're going to come back in, making sure that the hands are underneath the shoulders, tap the toes into the ground, and then just kind of push the heels towards the back of the room. We're in our plank pose. So we're engaged in the core, the whole entire front section of the body, the quads, the shoulders and the arms. Breathe. And then bring the hips to the back of the rib into a downward facing dog. So now in the down dog, you can pedal out the heels if you would like. Start to open up the hamstrings. And so Randy has really good length here, right? Some of us aren't going to have this length in our back. The whole entire positioning of the downward facing dog, we want to be engaged through the hands. So you're always pushing through the hands, lengthening. The tailbone's always coming back. Your head wants to definitely be between your biceps. And if you don't have straight, long legs, or you can't do that, you can bend your knees. You do not have to straighten the legs. We would rather have your spine straight with bent legs than straight legs and a rounded spine. So bend the knees if you have to. Don't be thinking that you have to be able to do every single pose with straight lines, as long as the spine is straight. So from here, we're going to walk the feet to the hands. We're going to meet at the front of the mat in a forward fold. So again, if your low back is tight or anything like that, we don't want to get into the back right now. You can keep the knees bent. Kind of set the stomach down onto the quads here. And then we're just going to let the head hang heavy and the shoulders hang heavy. And breathe. Breathe in through your nose and out through the mouth. So we're expanding from the inside of the chest. And as you breathe, you're going to start to feel maybe the shoulders start to pull away from the arms a little bit. The arms pull out of the shoulders a little bit. You start to feel these muscles let go up in the upper portion of the body. Enjoy the stretch. The wrist and the shoulders. The upper back, and then maybe start to move the head around. The cervical spine is free right now. Zero pressure on the cervical spine, so your head can move around. It can be a bobblehead if you would like. Just kind of shake the head, yes and left and no, right and yes, and whatever and whatever. So we're going to take our hands and grab opposite elbows, adding some extra weight to that upper portion of the body and just really letting it go. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Enjoy the stretch. Dropping the hands to the mat. And very slowly, we're going to start to straighten the legs and round the spine, one vertebrae at a time, as slow as you can, ragdolling up, all the way to a standing position. When you get to the top, spin the hands towards the front of the mat, drop the shoulders down the back, close your eyes and check in for yourself for a second and see how you feel. Enjoy the energy, enjoy the feeling. Breathing slowly, examining yourself, examining how you feel in this moment. So we're going to bring the hands up over the head on an inhale, really long enough. Meet in prayer. On the exhale, pulling them down your midline. And pausing for a second with the hands at the chest. So with the hands at the chest, we're going to take a moment and I'll offer you and invite you to set an intention for yourself. Maybe like a small arrangement or an agreement that you would like to see yourself progress to. It's a gift. When we start to set an intention, you ask yourself, why did I come to yoga today? What am I trying to achieve? Maybe it's something physical, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's stress relief or anxiety, or just you want to relax a little bit more. Set that intention. When you start to tell yourself, when you set an intention, the DNA starts to activate. And you start to program yourself to receive what it is that you're seeking. Not only do you set yourself to receive it, but you're sending signals out there that that's what you want. It's attraction. Dropping the hands down to the sides. Inhale the hands up slowly up over the head. Take the hands together, clasping them together, and point the two pointer fingers up into the air. So we're lengthening now up towards the ceiling, pushing through the floor, through the spine, reaching through the fingertips. And then slowly we're going to take the hands off to the right, sending the hips to the left. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to the left, hips to the right. inhale up. Maybe you have a little bit of a back bend, sending the pelvis forward. Maybe you're looking for the ceiling and maybe your eyes are closed, just breathing through. And then when you come back up, one more inhale, reach for the ceiling. Let the hands go, pull them down the midline on the exhale. When your hands hit your chest, micro bend your knees and fold forward all the way to the floor. Yeah. So you're just gonna let the shoulders hang out for a second, let the back unwind and decompress. Your hands are gonna slide up your shins on the inhale. Inhale, come up, hands to your knees, flatten your back, straighten your legs, look out. Exhale, fold forward. We're gonna step back, right foot steps back. Yeah, left foot steps back, and we're in our plank pose again. So I want to take another teaching moment to help you out with your practice a little bit. Drop the knees to the floor so we're in a tabletop. Now, we're going to come up into a tabletop in a minute. We're going to be in a downward facing dog, and I want to show you. I'm going to send your right leg out to the back of the room. We're going to extend through the leg, but we're also going to curl up, and I'm going to show you how to get into a lunge without hurting yourself. So a lot of people do this. We're here, we're plank pose, we come up into a down phase, we pull the right leg up, and then a lot of people just jump their leg forward. And if you jump your leg forward, there's a chance that you get hurt, right? But not only that, you're throwing the body off. So there's a much more controlled way to do it. And you start to learn how to incorporate the spine here and the shoulders. So you're learning this flexation and the power, but you're also using your stomach to engage. It can rip you up after a while. You're really learning core activity. So we tap the feet from here. We're in our downward face. When I say lift the right leg, we're extending through the right heel and being long. And when I say bring the right knee in, so what we want to do is we want to start to curl through the rib cage and bring the knee in, and then you can just set it down instead of jerking. And so that way we can start to move. So we're going to try it for a minute. So we're going to come back down into our tabletop, yeah? And then tap the toes into the ground and send the ankles to the back of the room. So here we are in our plank pose. Engage the core, engage the quads, and then send the hips to the back of the room, downward facing dog. We're going to bring the right leg up into the air. So you're pushing through that right heel towards the back of the room. Square your hips towards the mat. And then start to bring the right knee into the rib cage. But don't step through, just bring the knee into the ribs. I have short hands, so I use my fingers. And then we're going to send, coming back up, we're going to send that right leg back, yeah. So that's it. And then we're going to bring the right leg down next to the left. And we're in our downward facing dog. Pedal out your heels. Then send the left heel up into the air, so you're kicking. Straight back. Work on keeping the hips squared off towards the floor. And then bring the right knee into the ribs. See if you can touch your chest with your left knee, but don't step through. Go ahead and send it back. And then drop it down into the downward face. Pedal out the heels. Yeah. All right, so we're engaging, right? Let's drop down and take a breath for a moment. We're going to get back into a child's pose. Open the knees, point the backs of the toes, and walk the hands out towards the front of the mat. Just pause and take a breather. Let your shoulders rest. Catch your breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Back up, tabletop. Hands are underneath the shoulders. Knees are underneath your hips. Tap the toes into the mat, send the heels to the back of the room, plank pose. Yeah, all right, so we're sending the hips to the back of the room, downward face. Remember, we want long spine, get engaging, pushing through your hands. Micro bend the knees if you have to, and send the right leg up into the air. Kicking through the right heel. We're going to start to bring this right knee into the rib cage. And as you engage, look through where you want to step and set that right foot down. And we're in a right side lunge. So set up your knee. Make sure that your knee is over the over the ankle so that there's stability. Your legs are long. We're in a lunge position. we're going to push through the right heel and bring the arms up into the air. Yeah, reaching long. So we want space between the shoulders and the ears. We don't want to be jammed up. Drop the shoulders down and reach up. So it's long. We're elevating towards the ceiling and lengthening, keeping that spine long. Gravity is going to start to open up this left side quad. You start to feel it in that left side leg. Breathe. Set both hands down, frame your right foot. Kick your right foot back. We're in our plank pose. So we're going to go from a high plank. We're going to drop down like a push-up to a low plank. Keep the elbows in. And then we're dropping the hips and the shins. Point your toes towards the back of the room and push up through into an upward face. Yeah. Let the butt cheeks relax. Let your back relax. Flip your toes. Push the hips back. Downward facing dog. Pedal out your heels. Left leg kicks the sky. Breathe, engage through the hands. Engage through that left heel and start to bring the left knee into the rib cage. Look between the hands. Find your landing spot for your foot and step through left side lunge. Make sure that your knee is at 90. It's over. It's stabilized by that heel. Long right leg. Pull through. Arms up. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and reach for the sky. You're going to start to feel this right side leg release. Kicking through that heel. Strong legs. Find your balance. Find your breath. Hands come down, frame the foot. Stabilize, kick your left foot back. Plank pose. High plank. Low plank. Drop the hips, upward face. Let the glutes go. You start to feel this maybe in the abdomen area a little bit. Shoulders, flip the toes. Downward facing dog. Engage the core, engage the quads. Pedal out the heels, push through the hands. Send that tailbone long. Right leg kicks the sky. Start to bring the right knee into the ribs. Look through, step through. Right side lunge. Yeah. So we're going to move into a warrior two. You're going to drop the left heel, cartwheel the arms up. So we're in a warrior two. Now, first things first with the feet. We want to make sure that the feet, your back foot, is going to be in line with the back edge of your mat. And the front knee is going to be in line so that you can see your front toes. You want to be able to see these toes out in front of your knee. If you can't see the toes, that means that you're adding excess pressure on this knee. So walk your feet out. Get your feet long enough. And then you're pushing through the outside edges of both feet, through the toes, like you're trying to pull them out apart. And as you breathe, breathe up through your midline. Any energy that you're pulling up through the ground, pull it through the legs, pull it up the midline and out of your fingertips, out of the crown of your head. As you start to breathe, your right leg will start to adduct away from the body, away from the midline, so this hip area starts to get loose and the groin starts to get loose. We're going to take the left arm, we're going to cartwheel it around, drop it inside the right foot, and send the right hand up into the sky, lunge twist. So we're following the fingertips with the eyes. Feel the twist, breathe, strong legs. Right hand frames the foot. Kick the right foot back. Plank pose. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Yeah. Relax the glutes. Flip forward, downward facing dog. Left foot kicks the sky. So we're pushing that left heel up. Ears between the biceps. It's not much longer, guys. Just keep going. Bring the left knee into the ribs. Follow the eyes with the feet. Look through, step through, left side lunge. Make sure that your legs are stable. Drop that outside right foot. Cartwheel the arms up, warrior two. Again, checking with your feet first. We want to be able to see the toes outside of the right knee, and you want to be pushing through that outside edge of that back foot. So as you breathe, you start to feel the space, all the energy coming up through the legs, through this motion that you got where you're pushing out. Everything comes up, so you root down to come out. Coming up through the spine, coming out through the arms, and out through the top of the head. Everything rises. Breathe. Right arm is going to cartwheel around. Frame your left foot. Send the left fingertips up into the sky. Lunge twist. You're sweating, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is an air-conditioned room and we're sweating. So, it means that your body heat is building from the inside. It's the breath and small movements. Left hand drops down, frames your left foot, kick your left foot back. And we're going to come all the way down onto the stomach. So while you're here on the stomach, chin sets to the ground, push your hands back down by your sides. Fingernails are on the mat, toes are pointed towards the back of the room. And decompress, let the back decompress. Feel what it feels like to lay on the stomach and breathe. Again, guys, we do not have to be out in a weight room throwing 45-pound plates around to build up a sweat, to burn energy, and to internally heat ourselves with the breath. Small movements. Stabilizer muscles are firing. Yoga is not always easy. Slowly start to drag the hands up underneath so that the elbows frame the chest. We're going to get into the neck and the shoulders and the back just a little bit. So our shoulders are about nipple level with the body, and our hands come out in front of us. So this is Sphinx pose. We don't want the thumbs to be touching. We want a gap. So once we get the elbows down and we build a 90 with the arms, we're going to slowly start to pull the hips towards the elbows and extend the neck away, extend the ears away from the shoulders, long neck, yeah? And then slowly, if your neck is healthy, look to the right. Find your breath. Slowly look to the left. Continue to breathe. Let the body adjust. Slowly come back to center. And from here, we're going to slowly lower the chin down into the chest and let the ears hang between the shoulders. Let your face fall towards the floor. Trust that your bones and your arms are going to hold you up. Completely let everything go. Let your spine fall between the shoulders. Let your face become so heavy, it feels like you're going to drool on your mat. Just completely disengage. Your bones will hold you up. The structure of the frame will hold you up. Just let go. Trust. Breathe. And very gently start to walk the elbows away from each other. Set the chin on the floor. We're going to take our right hand and we're going to frame the chest like we're going to do a push-up. And we're going to sit over here. Right hand is framing the chest, and the left hand is going to extend out. So your right hand's going to be here, pushing up. Yeah, just like that. Left hand extends out, and so we want the fingertips to be spread wide. Okay? So the knees and legs are still together. We're going to take our right leg and we're going to bend it, and then we're basically going to push through this right hand and just roll the foot till it finds the ground. We're going to open up the left pectoral muscle. The more you push, you might get a better stretch. But you don't have to engage that much to get a good stretch here on this left side. As long as this left arm is out to a 90 and the fingers are gripping the mat, that's where you're going to get that stretch. You're going to feel it through this whole front side, left side body. Just breathe. Very slowly rolling over, back onto the chest. And we're going to switch sides. So you're sending the right hand out and the left hand is going to come in and frame the chest. Make sure that the right fingertips are spread open. Yeah, and grip that mat. And we're going to bend the left knee. And we're just slowly going to push through that left hand and roll over. Find the floor with the left foot. Set the right ear onto the mat. Just disengage. See if you can let the right side pack and chest and arm open up. Breathe, find your breath. Very gently releasing the legs and rolling back over onto the stomach. We're going to send the arms back down by the sides. Chin is to the mat. Push your pelvis into the ground, rocking the hips side to side, just kind of wiggling like a little snake for a minute. And then pause. This is called sleeping serpent. This is my favorite pose. This will disengage the low back, depressurize all of the low back unit and the hips. Dragging the fingernails up the side of the body, we're going to frame the chest, touch the toes behind you, and in one motion we're going to push through, open the knees, and send the hips back, child's pose. So we're lengthening that low back again, really getting through the spine, and it's long, and you start to feel the length of the spine. This is hopefully a little bit of a different feeling for you. Rather than the first one, you might feel a little bit more open. Just breathe. Walk the arms out to the outside edge of the mat, giving you a little bit of space in the upper back. And then very slowly engage the mat. And we're going to come all the way forward, back down onto the stomach. So while we're here, we're going to just bring the arms out in front of us like Superman. And I know that I could easily tell you to go to the back, but I want you to get in the mindset of keeping your spine long and keeping the body. So we're just going to roll to the left and make our way onto our backs. Once you're on your back, adjust yourself back to your mat. Just keeping the spine long. A lot of times we take shortcuts in life. We end up selling ourselves short and getting ourselves injured and things like that. So learning to do things the correct way instead of just flopping around is beneficial to us for the yoga practice. Once you're off your mat, you can start to pay attention to your posture and the way that you are. So we're going to go back into the hips a little bit. We're going to bring the right leg up and then the left leg up. And we're going to take the right hand inside of the right knee and we're going to reach out and grab the outside edge of the right foot. And then we're going to send the left leg back straight out towards the back of the room. So this is half of a happy baby. Now you're going to take your left hand and just kind of put it down next to you on the mat. Pull that right knee into the armpit. Pull that right knee towards the ground. You're going to feel this in the right quad. You're going to feel this in your hip a little bit. Just breathe. And then bringing that left knee back up. And we're going to send the left hand through the knee and grab the outside of the left foot. Release the right foot. Send the right foot out towards the back of the room, pulling that left knee into the armpit or to the outside of the shoulder towards the floor. Again, you're going to feel this in different areas of the body, mostly the backs of the legs and the hips. Just breathe and hang out. And then coming back up and bringing that right knee back into the rib cage for a balance. Once you have the outside of the legs, you're going to just release the feet straight up into the air like you're standing on the ceiling. Try and pause for a moment with the back flat on the ground. See if you can sit still with the legs straight towards the roof. Bringing the hands straight up into the air like palms on the ceiling. So this is called dead bug. I wish I could get into some of the Sanskrit words, but I can't. Not going to, some of them are too hard. This is dead bug. So we're going to start to bring movement into the fingertips and the toes, making circles like you've got crayons taped to the feet. So you're just getting into the ankles and the wrists and the fingers. Just start really moving them around and pushing them. So what's going on here is we get a lot of blood that gets stagnant in the feet sometimes because there's so many tendons and ligaments and bones in the feet. Blood gets trapped down there. It's not always getting populated with oxygen. Doesn't mean that it's bad or good, but this is a good way to get the blood flowing again in the feet, because we're standing all day or we're sitting all day. Trying to keep healthy feet. It's the base of our body. It's the base of everything that we do. Same thing with our wrists and our hands. We want to keep everything healthy, and that keeps the tendons and the ligaments up to the shoulders and the hips moving smoothly. And so from here, we're just going to send the hands straight, feet straight, and very slowly, simultaneously dropping the heels down to the outside edges of the mat, and the hands fall out at a 45-degree angle, palms face up. And that's going to be it for today. We're going to take a deep breath into the nose and open up the mouth, vocal exhale, blow it out. Another deep inhale through your nose. And a vocal exhale. And let the body settle. The body adjust to the floor. Take the time to pause and allow the mind to rest. Very so often we're so busy in our lives, so consumed with the things that we do with Instagram and Facebook and social media and the news, and we're bombarded with information. Our brains take on, I think, 1 million pixels per second of information, but the output capacity that we have with our brains is only 50 bits. So it's like a whole cup of sugar to 2 grains of sugar, input versus output. So a lot of times trying to figure out what we're going to output based on all the information that we've taken in takes time. It takes our mind a little bit of time to process. Just like a computer takes to reset, you have to unplug it. It's the same thing with our bodies. We have to consciously take a break. I'm not talking about sleeping where we go to sleep at night. I'm talking about consciously letting our mind rest and process. At the end of this break, when we actually slow down, take the time to maybe examine your thoughts. If your brain tells you that you want to move or twitch, see if you can make the thought. It's just a thought. We don't have to react to all thoughts. We can respond to them if we give them time to process. Acknowledging the floor and the sounds in the room, acknowledging your breath, acknowledging the way that the weight of your body feels on the floor. These are all grounding techniques. These are all things that you can take with you out of yoga. You can find yourself exhausted or depressed or anxious or any of these things, and you can slow down and pay attention to the breath. Look at your feet and see where you're at. We don't have to fall victim to our imaginations. We don't have to fall victim to our past. We can live in the moment. It takes practice. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Slowly start to move your toes and your fingertips. You're softly starting to send signals back through the body. Waking the unit up, moving the wrists and the ankles, moving the arms and the legs, using the support of the ground on the back of the head to look right, and rolling off and looking left, just not using too much of the neck muscles, just enough to move the head. Inviting you to reach your arms up over your head and stretch out long, flat on the ground like you do when you wake up from a nap or when you wake up in the morning. Just really starting to wake that system back up. Stretching out one leg at a time. When you're ready, bringing the knees into the chest and rolling to the right side, fetal position. Yoga is an amazing opportunity to get in touch with our bodies and our minds. Finding out imbalances that sometimes have been going on for years based on poor posture or injuries or just laziness. We have this awesome opportunity to connect to that. The benefits of yoga far exceed the physical practice, as they allow us to start to recognize what it is that we need and we have to gain in our lives. Start to become aware and alert, pay attention. Use your left arm to very slowly push yourself up to a seated position, elevating the spine very softly and gently. Not trying to rush, not trying to disturb the peace that you have created this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're at. We end our yoga practice today with gratitude and thankfulness for our bodies and our minds, our jobs and our lives. The ability to connect to energy that makes us rise and makes us fall, become one with it, become one with ourselves, and learn how to be better people so that we can make the world around us a better place. Thank you so much for allowing Yoga for Change to come in and guide you through this yoga practice. Again, my name's Matt, and this is Randy. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Hope you have a great rest of wherever you're at, weekend or the week, night or the night, day or the day. Thank you so much. Namaste.